Look, I know you took one look at the title, the thumbnail, and me sitting here with my out of frame Inuyasha t-shirt, and you're like, okay, what is this big fat nerd gonna yap about? So believe me when I say I understand the stereotype completely. There are people out there that I know listen to only video game soundtracks, and they'll leave comments on songs on YouTube. I've seen them where they're like, man, I love this song, but I wish you could just take the rap out of the song and I listen to the instrumental. And it's like, nah, please don't only listen to video game soundtracks. So believe me when I say I'm not one of those dudes that's just like, I listen to only video game OSTs and anime soundtracks, and that's my life. But I also do think that video game soundtracks get a bad rep, so I think I'm here gonna make my case for it. I'm hopping into the ring, everyone. So here's what I think happens from like an outsider perspective. I think people say like, oh, I like video game soundtracks, and they assume you listen to like bleeps and bloops, or you're sitting there like with your headphones on in the dark, like bop, 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 bop. And it's like, no, there's some really beautiful music out there, but there's also like, you could also treat it as video game soundtracks should be seen in a similar way that movie soundtracks are. I can't deny that, I'd watch a lot of David Lynch movies. You get into like, okay, there's Blue Velvet, right? You're Alana stan, you know exactly what that song is. He got me into like artists like the Chromatics and Dirty Beaches. He got me into Dirty Beaches. Or God forbid, all like the 70s music that like a lot of Wes Anderson's movies have, right? So there's a little bit of that going on, but let me give you first, I think, a couple of rundowns of stuff that stuck with me. I remember as a grown adult, I got really into Stardew Valley, which is a farming simulator. And, me and my friend after work, every night we would sit down with our 24-pack of beer, a little bit of Mary Jane, and just blast away through the night. And the seasons change in the game, and eventually you hit the fall season, and suddenly I would be sitting there, dim screen, taking a little sip of my little Michelob Ultra, when this just like beautiful, nostalgic, like just very naturey sounding music will just suddenly show up, and you have to just kind of stop playing and just take it in for a little bit, and you're like, what just happened for a second there? It reminds me of this game that I played as a kid called Croc, where a lot of the music in Croc is just very like silly, like very, I'd say, it's a fun good old time. Suddenly you get to this level where it's like a very unique level that sticks out, where you're on a hang glider, and like there's the most like just beautiful strings coming out of nowhere, and it feels like you're floating in space. It's almost like an early version of a beach house song or something. And don't even get me started on like the Sonic series, which is full of just so many genres and so many, like, it's literally like a fun stereotype that no Sonic game has like bad music. Sonic CD's Tidal Tempest, for example, like slow down Tidal Tempest, put down some reverb on it. Toss in like a Maria's feature on it and tell me the TikTok girlies wouldn't be sitting there like, no one noticed. Sometimes I'd even get my mind blown. Like I played this game called Lisa, which was an RPG, a very messed up story, a very violent, cruel world. But for some reason, I was just flabbergasted when just the main song of you walking around the world is like, it just got like a Toro y Moi sample. I don't even know if the guy cleared it or not, but it just really stuck with me that moment. Or how about this, when it comes to this kind of stuff catching you off guard, beautiful music, I would sit there. We didn't have iPads as kids, so my parents instead sat me in front of a computer to play educational games so that I could be satiated. So imagine me like playing like Magic School Bus Explores the Ocean, which is just wacky stuff, be sitting on there clicking on shiny things, making things happen, clapping along. Suddenly you get to like exploring the deep ocean when this like beautiful song from the future starts playing, and it's like, what in the world is going on here? And it's the same feeling, like I would just get caught off guard, have to stop for a little bit and really take it in, and then I remember it for the rest of my life, because that's just how it goes with my brain. You need to put that phrase on a t-shirt or something. And I get it, like, it's not completely like out of the public conscience or whatever, right? Like, I mean, God forbid you have the shop music from Undertale. I've seen that on so many TikToks of people posting their cute furry creatures, their bunnies or animals and stuff like that. Or people vibing out to like the underwater music from Donkey Kong Country. Man, oh man, I remember when malls were still open, and I remember when, man, life didn't suck so much as a kid. Any of these songs that you see on like TikToks and stuff like that, like, are very aesthetic or very beautiful or just catchy, you know, like the games where those songs came from are not only good games, but they have plenty of other good songs too. But like I said, you can also treat these like movie soundtracks. So like there's a lot of artists really that I got into only because of games when I was growing up at very crucial moments. For example, like you take sports games, you got SSX Tricky, which literally has Run DMC as like their main theme song. But then like a big one for me was like the Tony Hawk series, where like, man, the amount of artists that I got into through Tony Hawk was like, you know, you got the Doors, bands like Black Flag, Stooges, the Ramones, the Clash, pretty much all of my early taste in punk music. And a lot of my early taste in like rap, you know, there's, you know, games with De La Soul on them. Freaking Exhibit. I got into Exhibit because of video games. Deltron 3030, Nas, Public Enemy, and even like harder stuff, you know, like classic metal, Metallica, obviously, that's a big one, Mastodon, Casualties, or Death from Above, 1979, so many good artists because of the Tony Hawk series. And different genres too, man. Like I remember playing Ape Escape as a kid, and that was my first experience with drum and bass music, which is like easy to zone out into. And the same as in the game, like the little home hub area just has like the most chilled out, dopest D&B song you've ever heard. City pop right now is really huge among the indie kids, right? You know, take a game like Sonic Adventure where like it's completely just soaked in those influences, like that city pop, like shiny, good composition, whatever type of influence. I don't know how to describe, I don't know words. And I've played games like Hotline Miami that will showcase genres and artists and stuff that are not as well known. So in this game, for example, you're a hitman, and the game just also like is just completely chock full of like these trippy artists that make like psychedelic-y, trancey music. Sometimes it's just like high energy electronic music, but this is stuff that I probably wouldn't have gotten into or encountered, you know, had I not played this game. If you're a fan of music especially, and you haven't really given game soundtracks a try, like there's a lot of good stuff that you're missing. And there's even certain game soundtracks where I haven't played the game, but I know the composer, or I'll like have heard it because of a YouTube recommendation, or I heard it sampled elsewhere. I think these game developers, as we were growing up, were literally just showcasing the stuff that they were into. So treated the same as like a movie soundtrack. That's for like a lot of kids. When I was growing up in my generation, like I see the playlists and stuff on Spotify of just like Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 1 through 4. It was a lot of people's first introduction to just certain things. And don't even get me started on like the software and the synthesizers and stuff like that involved, because that could be like its whole video on that. So I think that's overall my case. I swear it's not just like you're sitting there in the dark with your headphones listening to bleeps over and over again. It really is as expansive as like movie soundtracks. And I'm really excited moving forward because I've played a lot more like recent games and stuff like that where they'll be down to like really start to include like these cool genres that like you normally wouldn't have encountered. So I think that'll do it for this video before I start rambling forever. Hopefully I don't get copyright striked. I'm even wondering how much of these like songs I'm going to be able to show off, or maybe it'll just be an awkward rant in the silence. I don't know. In any case, I've yapped for too long. My back window has fogged up. Don't be that guy. Don't be that stereotype of you only listen to anime and video game soundtracks. Just get into good music. I think that's my final bullet point in this ramble. But see you guys in the next video.